So in this course, in this first unit, we put an emphasis on the First Amendment and the many applications that it has had over the years through these many different court cases. First of all, the First Amendment basically states the freedoms of religion, speech, petition, assembly, and press. And like I said, there's many cases that go into it. But there is one thing that I wanted to address, the difference when it comes down to the freedom of speech. Based upon these court cases, you can basically say what you want to, as long as it's not a physical harm to anybody, or is a breach to the community, a breach to the public. So, for example, two cases that I want to go into is the Tinker versus Des Moines case and the Finner versus New York case. Now, the Tinker versus Des Moines case was a case where there were kids that were going to a high school and they were wearing armbands to symbolize that they wanted a truce between the United States and Vietnam. And then at that time, the not the president, but the administration of the school decided to suspend those students if they did not remove those bans. But because these students knew their rights, they decided to not take those bans off. And they basically kept them on, and they received suspension. But they were able to sue because the simple fact that the First Amendment gave them the rights to speech. Even though they didn't physically say anything with their mouth, that symbol is their speech. That's their word. That's their belief. And they were able to be let go of. They won that case. The Tinkers won the case because the simple fact it wasn't classified as any type of misconduct. The administration thought that it would cause some type of ruckus or whatever, but because it was not any type of misconduct, they were able to go free. But the Finner versus New York case, there was a case where Irving Finner, which was a student at Syracuse, made an inflammatory speech about local politicians, organizations, and President Truman. This was back between 1949 and 1951. And he was protesting on the corner in Syracuse, New York. And a crowd surrounded him while he was speaking, and he basically caused a riot, so to say, with his words. The officers tried to tell him twice to stop, but he refused to. And he was arrested for inciting a breach of the peace. And once this case ended, it came to say that because of this act, he sued. He sued because of the simple fact that he said that it went against his First Amendment rights. Now, he does have the right to speak, but at the same time, in conclusion from this case, because his speaking was a major source of that riot, which was a breach of peace, he ended up losing that case. So that's basically the big point I want to make, was that the fact that we have the freedom of religious speech, petition, assembly, and press, but also we have to take into account, based upon what I learned, that it can't be something that is a breach to the peace. You can use any type of platform to say what you want to say, or use different things to do what you want to do, but you have to be also mindful of those other rules that are in place in order to operate in the manner that you need to. So that's the First Amendment in a nutshell when it comes down to freedom of speech.